The Breakfast Club is one of the best movies ever made, certainly one of the best coming from the 80s. Its influence on pop culture, and especially teen movies, was massive, but you don't have to be a teenager to be able to relate to the characters. There were a few movies that portray teen issues and anxieties in such a detailed and personal way. There is something special about this movie. The characters portrayed here aren't tied to the 80s. The problems they talk about are universal and present no matter the decade. You might relate to some of them because you recognize parts of yourself. Maybe you don't relate at all, but you understand exactly what the movie talks about because we all experienced school and know how frustrating and isolating it can be, even if you're part of a group or the most popular kid. The Breakfast Club shows the perspective of teenagers without being overly whiny or over the top like a lot of teen dramas or comedies are. It focuses on deep issues that weren't widely discussed back in the 80s, such as bullying, abuse, parents that expect too much from you or pressure you too much or just ignore you. The movie doesn't feel outdated or old either. Watching it today feels fresh, and it will still be fresh in 20 or 50 years. Breakfast Club is not like other teenage-focused movies. It doesn't put too much emphasis on nudity for the sake of shock value. It doesn't waste half the movie talking about romance or teenage drama. It goes a lot deeper than that and shows teenagers from a side that, even today, is often ignored. As you watch this movie, you feel the same way these characters do. Some of them you hate, others you connect with, while some you're either indifferent about or look down upon. It's really genius how Breakfast Club manages to pull off this trick, and it's something you will only notice towards the end of the movie when you think about the interactions these people just had.
It's all because of me and my old man. God, I fucking hate him.
Most of us probably knew or know people that behaved like some of these characters, and a lot of us were like them. They are all stereotypes and might seem like cliches, which was intentional. They are supposed to be extreme stereotypes that turn out to be complex the deeper you dig. It's a movie that has touched me deeply and makes me emotional each time I watch it. It really captures teenage behavior perfectly, especially what would happen if you left them without supervision. They would trash the place and start running around wildly, doing whatever they want. I was like that, and I remember in school how we would avoid doing schoolwork or the teacher's task in order to have fun or fight the extreme boredom that would creep up on us. And the boredom was real. Sometimes you have to fight the urge to fall asleep in school because lessons can get so damn boring you want to jump out of a window or use a flare gun to end it all. Breakfast Club perfectly depicts interactions between different types of students, their admiration or hate for each other, and how similar they actually are. This movie is special because it actually dives deeper into student fears and anxieties, but it also shows the mocking and unreasonable attitude some adults and especially teachers have. Vernon, the school principal, is shown to be the antagonist in this movie, and he really does behave like a total asshole and a man that should not be anywhere near children. He clearly doesn't want to be there and even goes so far as to openly threaten to beat Bender up. But at the same time, despite being the antagonist, we can somewhat understand where he's coming from and why he feels frustrated. Vernon is the perfect representation of a lot of teachers and adults in general and how they view teenagers or children. They don't take them seriously or expect them to do what they want because they are the grown-ups, and that makes them by default right. A lot of teachers have grown less enthusiastic for their jobs as the years went on. They might not outright hate it, but they behave a lot more aggressively and lose their temper faster.
That's the last time, Bender. That's the last time you ever make me look bad in front of those kids. Do you hear me? I'm gonna be there. That's right. And I'm gonna kick the living shit out of you, man. I'm gonna knock your dick in the dirt.
We all knew or know teachers like that, and we have all experienced that one teacher at school who was either hated or feared by everyone. Of course, there are plenty of positive examples of great teachers that help their students a lot and are a major influence on their lives. Despite that, you can also somewhat sympathize with Vernon and get where he is coming from. Teenagers can be a massive pain in the ass to deal with, and I remember when I was one, I would also behave like a massive dick. Now imagine you have to deal with that day in, day out until you retire, and it's easier to see why someone might start to lose their temper faster or grow annoyed over time. There's of course no excuse at all for Vernon's behavior, which was bordering on abuse and humiliation. He was definitely getting off on having power over Bender and the rest, but he's not depicted as entirely one-dimensional or malicious.
These kids turned on me. They think I'm a big fucking joke.
The older you get, the more you can at least understand where he's coming from. The same can be said about the parents. We don't see a lot of them, but what we see is enough to understand how they treat their children. This is later reinforced even more as the characters talk about their private life and the pressure or abuse they receive at home. Most of us will be horrified at the stories the characters tell, such as Andrew being pressured to be the best at everything he does and hating his dad for not giving him a break, or Bender, whose home life consists of him getting beat up and abused.
What about you, Dad? Fuck you. No, Dad. What about you? Fuck you! No, Dad! What about you? Fuck you!
Have you ever wondered why Bender got into a fight with Vernon and didn't stop until he received 3 months of detention? It wasn't because he liked doing it or because he was such a total asshole, even if Bender comes off as one. It was because he wanted to avoid spending time at home and be at a safe place. As much as he's depicted as a troublemaker and potential future criminal, it's clear that part of his persona is just for show and he actually wants to be better. Him showing up at detention, which he could easily just not go to, is his attempt at saving himself from a bad future. This is made even more clear when Vernon threatens him with physical abuse, and we can see Bender freezing and backing down because he's not actually the bad boy troublemaker he wants everyone to believe he is. The shocking realization that Andrew has about turning into his old man when he gets older is painfully accurate. Your heart really dies because you let your youth go in order to fit in with society's expectations and ideas of how adults have to behave. We swear we won't end up like that, but it still happens and it's painful. Even Vernon, when he was a teenager, likely behaved a lot more rebellious and different compared to the man we now see as school principal. The best part about Breakfast Club are the characters and how they slowly bond over the course of the movie. And when I say characters, I don't mean that they are necessarily highly original or unheard of. They are all stereotypes, but that's why the situation they end up in works so well. The movie gives us different perspectives on these stereotypes and what's going on inside of them.
You've got to be number one. I won't tolerate any losers in this family. Your intensity is for shit. Win! 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 You know, sometimes I wish my knee would give and I wouldn't be able to wrestle anymore. And he could forget all about me.
When they talk about why they ended up in detention, you can really feel their emotions and tears. A lot of us may have experienced similar things, or we just understand what it's like to be in detention, get punished for something, or simply trying to get away from home. These characters are real. They don't feel like they were made up or could never exist. I knew people like that. I was like some of them. We just often don't notice because, like them, we hang out with our own circles, make fun of others, or don't have any friends at all. It's interesting because adults have certain mocking view of teenagers. They don't take them quite seriously, and the advice they give is often either bad or completely misplaced. They don't view teenage problems as serious or like a big deal. And there is definitely some truth to that. Most of these issues are either stupid, exaggerated, or ridiculous, but that doesn't mean that they aren't affecting them and should be ignored. Their parents' expectations and pressure led some of them to end up in detention in the first place. Brian's story about his attempted suicide because of a single F is funny but also pretty dark.
I
It's this moment that he realizes how stupid it was of him, and it gives him a new perspective and outlook on life. They all needed each other to change and get out of their comfort zones, even if just for this day. We will never know what happened on Monday. Maybe they remained friends, maybe they will never talk to each other. Personally, I believe the truth is somewhere in between. They might not hang out like best friends, but they will definitely acknowledge each other in school. They might stop their friends from bullying someone. At most, Bender has gained 3 new clients to sell weed to. No matter what happens on Monday, they will appreciate each other and behave differently. This detention changed them and gave them a new perspective on how they treat others and how they are seen by other people.
You want to know what I did to get in here? Nothing. I didn't have anything better to do.